It's Hamtaro time!
Ham ha, and welcome to Game & Browse. Ah, Hamtaro, one of my earliest forays into the anime and manga world. Little hamsters, big adventures is the tagline for this anime, and for little hamsters, they've certainly left quite a big impression on me and on my development as an anime fan. Today on Game & Browse, we'll be looking at Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak for the Game Boy Advance. But first, I woad like to give a shout out to one of our viewers, ToadUpGP, who actually recommended a few months ago that we review a Hamtaro game here on the channel. So here you go, ToadUpGP. Thanks for being our Hamigo. Having great success in Japan with a television show, movies, games, and a ton of merchandise, Hamtaro made its voyage across the sea to Western audiences in 2002. When Hamtaro debuted here in the United States, it aired on Cartoon Network as part of Toonami, their block of programming that was primarily reserved for anime. I have a lot of fondness and nostalgia for Toonami because it's where I saw some of my very first anime shows as a kid, like Sailor Moon, for example. Unlike some of my other favorite anime series, Hamtaro's plot doesn't involve mysterious, ancient evils spanning across time, or dueling for souls in the Shadow Realm. As a matter of fact, Hamtaro's genre falls into the shoujo category of anime and manga, meaning that it was made for a young girl audience. As such, Hamtaro is a show centered around a diverse bunch of cute little hamsters called Ham-Hams and their middle school owners, who go about having day-to-day adventures in this slice-of-life anime. Though the show only ran for 2 years here in the United States before concluding in 2004, Hamtaro was still popular enough in the West for us to see the NTSC-U release of 3 Hamtaro video games: Hamtaro Ham-Hams Unite on the Game Boy Color, Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak on the Game Boy Advance, and finally, Hamtaro Ham Ham Games, which was also on the Game Boy Advance. Like we said earlier, today we'll be looking at Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak on the Game Boy Advance, which was the Hamtaro game that I had as a kid. Fun fact, my copy actually has Ham written on it because Ham also happens to be my initials. I must have taken this game somewhere as a kid or done something silly to warrant my dad writing my initials on all of my GBA games. Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak is what I would call a point-and-click RPG with light puzzle-solving elements. The goal of the game is to restore love and harmony to all of the hamsters after a Delinkyu hamster in a devil costume named Spat meddles in all of the hamsters' relationships. In the game, you play as Hamtaro, and Bijou by extension, as you complete tasks to mend the broken relationships of the Ham-Hams in an attempt to undo Spat's mischief. These tasks range from the mundane, like finding a lost wallet or delivering a love letter, to some very extreme tasks, like building a massive hamster-hurling catapult in order to storm the gates of an enemy castle. Anyways, as you complete these tasks, gather key items, and restore relationships, your love meter will fill up. Given to you by a dazzly, angelic hamster named Harmony, she encourages you to fill up the love meter by saving the love between hamsters. As you fill up the meter, new areas on the map are revealed. In addition to restoring the Ham-Ham relationships, the second goal of the game is to recomplete the HamChat dictionary, which was conveniently ruined at the beginning of the game after being doused with water. As you progress through the story of the game, hamsters will teach you new HamChat words to collect. I love this aspect of the game, as the HamChat feature really helps immerse the player in the... what should we call it? How about the Hamsterverse? If you're familiar with the Hamtaro anime, or the show's theme song, you'll know that there are some gibberish words used by the hamsters, like heke or krum krum. Well, guess what? Those are HamChats. Now, we're not talking Tolkien levels of linguistics here, but there are over 100 canon HamChat words in this Hamsterverse, with 86 of them being included in the Ham Ham Heartbreak game. And here's where we come to the first big compliment that this game deserves: the attention to detail. With each HamChat word collected comes a custom animation of Hamtaro and Bijou performing a visual representation of the word. As a fan of the show, I think these animations are tip-top. By collecting and performing these new words, more Ham-Ham relationships can be repaired. In addition to the Hamchat animations, there are quite a few cute cutscenes hidden within this game, including this one of Hamtaro and Bijou on the roller coaster at the Funland, and this one parodying A Link to the Past, where Hamtaro and Bijou have to pull the legendary spoon from the stone. As for the actual game mechanics, Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak is played using a drop-down menu of commands that can be accessed by pressing the A button. Hamtaro always has 4 commands at his disposal that he can use at any time: Ham-ha, a greeting, Tak-you, a tackle, Hif-hif, and Dig-dig, which are sniff and dig respectively. By using these 4 commands, the player can interact with the environment and the other hamsters in the level. Sometimes more Hamchat will be available in certain scenarios, with these bonus words often being the catalyst needed to progress with the adventure. By moving around with the directional pad and using the drop-down menu of Hamchat, this is a very easy game to learn and an easy one to play at whatever pace you enjoy. Another compliment that Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak deserves is its loyalty to the Hamtaro anime and its consistency with the Hamtaro universe. Many of the Ham-Hams from the show reprise their roles in the game, including
Scooter, Penelope, Panda, Howdy, Oxnard, Bijou, and Boss, let's go!
Oops, sorry, that was the theme song. I couldn't help it. But that's yet another nice little homage to the anime. When first starting up the game, the player is greeted with a 32-bit instrumental rendition of the Hamtaro theme song, and that's the bestest. Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak really does feel like an episode of Hamtaro, which fans of the show will definitely enjoy. Touching again on loyalty to the source material, the overall aesthetic of the game is awesome. The colors are bright and inviting, and they really showcase the incredible color palette that the Game Boy Advance is capable of. The 7 levels included within the game are all super detailed and kawaii, with each feeling like it genuinely belongs in the Hamtaro universe. In each of the levels, there are many hidden Easter eggs just waiting to be discovered by the player and interacted with. To make things even more enticing, some of the best Easter eggs in the game can't even be unlocked until after all of the game's main objectives have been completed. Therefore, it keeps players interested and immersed in the Hamsterverse all the way up until both credit sequences roll. Speaking of the end of the game, after repairing all of the Ham Ham Heartbreaks and recompleting the Ham Ham Dictionary, there are still many little post-game activities to complete, including collecting fashion items from the Ham Ham boutiques hidden all over the map, dressing up and taking photos at Seymour's photo studio, collecting and polishing all of the gems in the clubhouse, and using Hamchat animations to create different dances in the dance studio. One place in Ham Ham Heartbreak that is worth the post-game return trip is the Funland world, because it's home to 3 fun minigames: Sticky Note, Tic-Tac-Q, and Dig-Dig-It. Sticky Note, which is my personal favorite, requires the player to move Hamtaro left and right on a conveyor belt while using the Hamchat Sticky to catch color-coded sticky notes. Tic-Tac-Q is like a mixture of bingo and bowling, where Hamtaro has to tack-cue bowling balls at the right time in order to fill lines on a bingo card. Finally, Dig-Dig-It requires Hamtaro and Bijou to find pairs, similar to Memory, by digging up the same matching suits of playing cards. These minigames are actually pretty fun, and it's awesome to finally see your name up on the carnival marquee after you set the high score. If you're a completionist, like myself, completing the gem catalog is quite the task, but it feels very rewarding to see a complete list of gems in the treasure box. With that being said, that about wraps up Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak in a nice little blue satin hairbow. One random but noteworthy piece of trivia about this game that I found in my research is that Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak was developed by Pax Sofnica, a developer that collaborated with Nintendo on multiple instances. Though they no longer work with Nintendo, and they now go by the name Sofnica instead, in addition to Ham Ham Heartbreak, Pax Sofnica also collaborated on and assisted with the development of other notable Nintendo games, including Pokémon Snap and Mother. While on the topic of noteworthy trivia, remember how I said earlier in the video that Hamtaro the anime only ran for 2 years here in the United States? Well, it's really unfortunate because, to my knowledge, there has never been an English-dubbed Hamtaro collection released for home viewing here in the United States. This anime is long overdue for the compendium, Blu-ray, or DVD treatment. I keep hoping that a company like Discotek Media will acquire the rights to the show and release a Hamtaro collection, like they did in 2019 with the Sonic X series, which is another one of my personal favorites. Now, there exists some VHS volumes of Hamtaro here and there. I actually have the first 2 volumes of Hamtaro, but this only constitutes the first few episodes of Hamtaro, when there were multiple seasons that were English dubbed and televised here in the States. Not to mention there were like 200 more episodes that were never dubbed in English or even aired in this country. If any anime distribution company is watching this, us Ham-Hams want a Hamtaro compendium. That would be great, you. Until then, I guess I'll just have to watch episodes from my Hamtaro mixtape that my dad recorded for me when I was in elementary school. Oh well, at least I get to watch some cool retro commercials along with them. Thanks for joining us here today on Game & Browse. We hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to us for more fun videos. You won't be disappointed. We ham-packed. Bye Q for now.